I have been dreaming about this layout since before this event even happened. In today's video, I am creating a double page scrapbook layout featuring some pictures from Halloween. So actually, before I bring out my Versamats here, let me set these aside. I'll give you a sneak peek of some of our pictures. My husband and I dressed up as Vikings along with some friends. So what I am wanting to do is create some paper that looks like leather. He had his leather armor, which is supposed to look more like metal, but it was pleather, you know. And then I have my leather vest on here. We got our drinking horns, which made the costumes. We were drinking out of those all night and everybody loved them. But I was playing around and I created this leather piece out of some cardstock. So I'm just going to show you how I created this, and then we'll go ahead and put this layout together. This was a 6x12 piece. This is a 6x12. And as you can see, it does shrink up with this technique. So these are the same size papers, but obviously it does not look like it. You lose about an inch there, and I'd say, yeah, about an inch, half inch over here. So what I did first was I took some spray. This is just water in a spray bottle. So I took some water and I sprayed this side, pretty good. It doesn't need to be soaking wet. And then I crumpled it up, but I did it in sections so that the center wasn't, you know, too folded. So kind of start on the ends, crumple it up real good, and then open it back up. And I can already feel that it's getting dry. So I'm going to spray it just a little bit more. I don't want that white core to show through as much. It's okay if it does a little bit. And I don't want to rip it. So by wetting it, it helps hide that white core and it helps prevent ripping it. This one, you can see it ripped just a little bit, but I think after my pictures are on, can you even see it? Right there, that little hole. But I think once my pictures are on and once it's all laid out, you won't even know that it ripped a little on me. Okay, so I got this pretty well crumpled. We'll carefully open it up. Don't want to rip it. Okay, and then I just laid it flat. See how there's like some flat right there? Ooh, sprayed it in the wrong direction. Let's try getting that a little more wrinkled there. So we'll lay this as flat as we can and let it dry. All right, this is dry. So I came in with my mocha ink. This is espresso cardstock, but I came in with mocha and I just wanted to add a little more of that shading. So this is the dark side. I used the light side of the espresso. And what I'm doing is using a blending brush, and then I'm just going over those raised areas. So I have a very light hand. I'm bringing in one of my silicone mats here. So I can, here's what I just did. So I can kind of go off the edge as well and hide some of that white core. It's okay if some of the white core shows because there are highlights on leather and that's fine, but you don't want it to look like your leather's cracking. So just a very light hand going over the tops of those wrinkles and letting the underneath be lighter. So going over the raised sections. And then putting a little more focus where some of that white is showing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be uneven. All right. Let's take a look here. They look pretty close. I got a little darker on some sections, so I could go in and kind of brush up on that some more. Maybe even crinkle it up again because there's a little more wrinkles on this one, but overall I think they look pretty good, and they're gonna go on separate sides of my layout, so they won't be right up next to each other to be compared. So let's go ahead and let this ink dry and pull in our Versamats. I am building this on White Daisy cardstock, or White Willow now with Stampin' Up. And then these measure about 10 1/4, 10 1/2 if you stretch it. So it is a little wonky, but I think once we glue it down, it'll look good. So I'm picturing a grid style layout. So one on each side. And then I'd like to bring in some more of the grays and kind of Viking-esque colors. I don't want anything too bright. Stampin' Up! Did just come out with a Halloween line that is adorable. I just didn't think it really matched my photo. My charcoal is 6 by 10 1/2, and I want that to be met in the middle. I want this to be completely clean cut. So I'm gonna go around with some sandpaper. This is from my husband's garage. And I'm just going to sand the edges back and not be very careful. I want it to kind of look scratched up and rustic. So I'm gonna get away from my project and go around with these edges. I won't go down the ones that are meeting in the middle because I want it to look like one continuous piece, but I'll go around the other 3. Normally I would do some stitching after the fact, but I want to bring in some Nordic symbols and just kind of keep with that theme. So I actually have an idea to go around the sides. So I'm going to set these aside and bring in just a journaling pen, a black journaling pen. Here you can see I made some lines going down. I'm making these into arrows. So I made a little template here out of my X-Acto knife. I just cut out like a V, and that's going to be my arrowhead. So now they're all matching. So I line up the corner down here with the bottom of the line, the corner up here that's going inward. And then I'm just starting with a pencil first because I made too many mistakes and pencil is safer. So I'm just penciling these in. And I don't think you can see it in the camera right now, but I did do the same over on that page. So then I'm taking my thin point marker and I'm just going to trace over those. I'm trying to stay as straight as I can. These are freehand, so if it's not perfect, it doesn't bother me. And then I'm going to shade in half of that blade, just to give it that fun little something. And then I'll do the rest. Okay, so now I'm adding these little tails to them. So I hold my breath and I'm just freehanding it. So I start with the back. Okay, and then I'm not gonna make this one as long, and then this one not as long. So now I'm at that, and then I'll go up from that side. And it's not perfect, but it's free-handed, so it's gonna be good enough. I added the X's to my arrows. That was not fun. That was not a good time, but I got it done. So let's bring these pieces back in. So these two are gonna go in the center, and we can go right about there. So 3/4 of an inch on either side. Okay, so then these are gonna go on either side like this. And we're gonna give ourselves about that 3/4 of an inch there too. We might actually end up going over the full inch. Yeah, so that we're not covering any of the arrows. So we're gonna go in that full inch too. So as you can see, I didn't distress these edges either. And here we just have to be super careful how we're adding our adhesive. And then over an inch and line it up with the gray one. Okay, that is all down. So these are my 3 focal photos. The one I had already shown you with my husband and I at the house. And then while we were out, they had this photo booth. So it was a wine walk. They call it our Witches and Warlock wine walk. So all the small businesses downtown get together and they have wine samplings. So we went around with our drinking horns and went to all those small businesses. And then I have a group shot from that same photo op, the friends that we dressed up with. So I'm thinking something like this, or I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm thinking a cluster, or I have more pictures too. So here's all the other ones that I'm going to be bringing in. The guys standing by the fire, us drinking out of our horns, some more group shots at the house, and then some more shots of the guys drinking out of their horns and just funny shots of the day. And then we went back to the house and played some pool. So the ones of us at the house and playing pool, since they don't really go with the theme, I'm going to hide under flip-flaps. So I need to cut these apart and figure out which ones I actually want on the layout and which ones I want hidden under flip-flaps. As much as I liked the leather, I thought I was just getting too much leather. So I shortened those back, and then I grabbed out this paper here from an old Close to My Heart change of scenery. I just thought the mountains looked kind of Nordic, and then all the trees. So there's no right direction. As you can see, I cut these both from the same direction on the paper, and the trees go every which way, the mountains go every which way, so those will just go right down here. And then I do need to trim back this. So the easiest thing I found is adhering these down. And we're just going to slide that under the leather as best we can and line it up here with the gray. And I did go through and ink around the edges of that, of the pattern paper here. And then same with this, kind of slide it under and line it up with that charcoal. Okay, so then what I found easiest was taking a straight edge and lining it up with that charcoal, and then taking my X-Acto blade and just going across that a few times. And there we go. And then we can do the same over here, just to straighten it off a little bit, because the paper itself isn't straight, so running it through our cutter won't work. And there we go. Now we have shorter leather. I am loving this leather so much. Okay, so my photos. I still haven't completely decided how I want them, but I do know that these are going to be my top photos. These 5 here. So I'm thinking something like this, and maybe even bringing in another photo mat. I should also print out my title, or cut that out however I'm doing my title. Maybe right across here. So then this could come over and we could do an embellishment cluster over here. Or if I wanted to kind of spread these out more. I will have some flip-flaps, so I don't want to do too much layering. I think I liked that better, touching like that. I don't dislike that, but then I think we have too much open space over here. So what if I went like this then, and did my title here, and then did I've added a few more symbols. So I have strength, courage, grace, and love. And then I did do my title here out of silver foil paper, which is Stampin' Up, so I'll have that linked below. And I thought Striking Vikings was a good title. I cannot take credit for that. My husband was calling us the Striking Vikings all night. And I did make a few embellishments as well. So I found this image online and I just freehanded it and then used one of my Spotlight on Nature dies. I used the biggest one to cut it out. And then I used my silver pen to add a little bit of silver into the middle. So it's not perfect. I did draw it, so my lines are a little off, but I think it is close enough. And we'll use that as an embellishment somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. And then I also freehanded this one, and I used my silver pen to do these little bolt marks. And then I used the silver foil paper to create the swords going through that shield. And then I created 3 more larger swords. So I thought those could go around, I'm not sure where. So this is my start to embellishments, but I may bring in some leaves or maybe a mountain stamp. I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this yet. But let's go ahead and adhere our title down, since I know I want my title on here. And I think we can just start maybe with the S and the G using my Barely Art glue, and then go as far up to the top as we can so I have room for my photo. I got my title adhered. I just used my reverse tweezers, my Barely Art glue, got that down, and then I'm ready to adhere my photos. So I'm going to be using flip flaps. This one is going directly down to my page. So this one I'm going to just leave a little border around the sides here. And then this one I'm going to do a flip flap. So these will go, or this one will go right here. And then the other 2 in a flip flap. And actually, I might bring this down here and kind of do a cluster up here maybe. Where do I want it centered? Maybe I do want it centered. Okay, so I'll put that one there. And then this photo of us playing pool is gonna go down here. And then we're going to adhere this entire piece down. My photos are in place, and you saw me lay this one here. This is where my journaling's going to go. And then I have this one with a few more photos here, and I'm actually going to flip it that direction. So that'll go there. And then I cut out another circle out of the same dies, just a smaller one. And that is going to back this, just to bring in a little more detail there. I think I like where these are. So I'm just gonna grab one. And they definitely look handmade, but it's a scrapbook and things are handmade on this. So I don't think it hurts to have it look like it. How I did the sword was silver foil paper, and then I used, where'd it go? This little poking tool, and I just ran down the middle of it and kind of made that indent. I felt like I needed a little more embellishments. I feel like there's quite a bit of gray here and down here. So these are some punch outs. They're like really heavy cardstock. They're from my stash, and I thought maybe I could go something like this, or even bring this one over to this cluster and kind of carry your eye around. And I could do some more Viking symbols. I could do some stamps. I could use Viking symbols and spell out friendship. Let me see what that would look like. So this is what friendship would look like. And that would fit pretty good right there. And then I could even bring it up to keep this cluster going. Or kind of overlap, because there's a lot of black space in there. I'm going to do that. So I'll write this out here and hope that my dimensions and everything fit okay. I'll go ahead and do that off camera because that's going to be tedious. This whole project has been tedious. I found this online and then hand drew it, and then same with this and these. And I even got a little smudgy, if you can tell there, but it's like this whole project has been a little tedious with all of the custom, but I think it's coming together. Let me know what you think, but I'll go ahead and do this off camera. All right, friendship. Okay, that looks pretty cool. Will I remember that says friendship? Who knows, but it looks cool. Do you guys ever put more pressure on yourselves when you really like the pictures, or when you really want an idea to be portrayed in a layout and you just put way too much pressure on yourself and then it doesn't come out to your standards? I kind of feel like that's what's happening with this layout. I had a lot of ideas. I had a lot of, like, I really like these pictures that were taken. And so it's like I had really high standards for this layout, and so I'm overthinking everything I do and putting more pressure on myself. And that happens to me with vacation pictures too. I act like I can't print more pictures. Like if I mess up, these are the only pictures from that trip I have. You know, like I put too much pressure on myself that way. And then if the pictures are just, you know, everyday photos, it seems like those layouts come together easier, and just it's more fun to put together, and it's just careless and not really overthinking. It's just, it comes together. And then layouts like this, it's like I have pressure. This one says good times, and I am just going to put that right here. Hopefully that sticks okay to that leather. It's a little textured, so it's a little rough, but I think this is coming together nicely. I do want to add a little more to my clusters. Let me get this a little straighter for y'all. So I have these dots here. They are the classic matte dots. I still need to add my journaling here. So I'll go ahead and type that up and add it so that I can fit more. I could handwrite it, but I have a longer story that I want to say, so I'll get that typed up and adhered. This layout is far from perfect. My arrows are not completely symmetrical. My X's are not completely symmetrical, but it adds so much character. It really explains the story, and I did a lot of customizing to make this layout fit my story. And it's not very Halloween. It's not your typical Halloween layout. I love this leather technique. Now, if you have young ones that are dressing up for Halloween, I will have the Halloween kit linked down below. I hope this layout brought you some inspiration. Everything doesn't have to be completely straight and perfect. If you want to add some doodling in, add it. It'll add that much more character and your personality into your layout. If you are unsure of how I cut my page protectors with the flip flaps, I have that in some previous videos, so be sure to go check those out, and I walk you through my flip flap process. Until next time, live a life worth scrapping. Bye, guys.